Okay, welcome back to session 1. You have worked on pages 553 and 554. Here are some pieces of information about our new words. Remember, we talked about the nearest inch, the nearest half inch, and the nearest 1/4 inch. You should have written down in your own words what it means and given an example. I'm going to go ahead and go over mine, and if you need to pause and fill in some of your information, then you can go ahead and do that. Oops, what did I just do? Oh, I flipped it. There we go. I'm trying to zoom in for you. There you go. Okay, so the nearest half or the nearest inch, it is the closest whole inch to a measured length. So for example, if I was measuring my hand, I laid down a ruler and I put my hand next to the ruler. Notice that my hand starts at the 0. And I drew a line where my fingertip ended. And notice that it is 5 inches. It is closest to the 5 inches. For the nearest half inch, that means the closest half inch to a measured length. So I was pretending to measure my foot. So I've got my toes. I laid my ruler down. Notice that this is 0. So I lay my ruler down to the edge of my toes. And then I count along. I've got 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. It is right between 3 inches and 4 inches. Notice I drew a line here to help me keep track. And so that tells me that my foot is 3.5 inches wide. Then for the nearest 1/4 inch, the closest 1/4 inch to a measured length. So notice on this one, I have a pencil. I laid down my ruler so that it was right at 0. Then I sketched in my ruler. And I noticed it was in between the 5 and the 6, so I had to put some more detail in. So between the 5 and the 6, I made 5.5, and I noticed that didn't help me because I needed to go to the nearest 1/4 inch. So then I put in the little quarter lines. So 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6. So when I drew in my little sketch line, I noticed that it was 5 1/4 inches. So if you need to pause, fill in some of your pictures. Okay, number 2. What is the length of a crayon measured to the nearest inch, half inch, and nearest 1/4 inch? So notice on this one, they want us to find the measurement 3 different ways. So the nearest inch. So I'm going to go over here to my crayon. Notice it does start at the 0. And I'm going to draw my line in. So to begin with, let me get rid of my work here. I have to think about this line. Is it closer to 2 inches or 3 inches? Because I'm looking for the closest inch. That means the closest whole number. It is closer to the 3. So I'm going to go back here and say the nearest inch is 3 inches. Now they want us to find the nearest half inch. So I'm going to come back here. Look for my half inches. Notice this is 2, so this is 2 1/2. And then this is 3. So is my line closer to 2 1/2, or is it closer to the 3? Notice this mark right here. Since my crayon is before this mark, that means it is closer to 2/2 than it is to 3. Because this is the 2 3/4 mark. This mark right here is halfway between 2 1/2 and 3. And since my line is on the left side, it is closer to 2 1/2. So I'm going to fill in nearest 1/2 inch is 2 1/2 inches. Now they want us to find the nearest 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead and look. So notice this is my next 1/4 inch. This is 2 3/4. So now I have to look at my crayon and decide, is it closer to 2 1/2 or is it closer to 2 3/4? Notice that the line actually almost touches the 2 3/4. So it is definitely closer to this number right here, 2 3/4. So I'm going to record that in my answer spot. Okay, page 554. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed measuring the fish. So what I did, and if we need to, I can kind of show you. I went through and I measured each of the fish and I wrote down the nearest inch. Notice they wanted to know the nearest inch. So make sure that you laid your 0 at the beginning, at the nose of each of the fish. This one was 3 inches. Not quite. It was a little bit less than 3 inches, but it is the nearest inch. Same with fish B. B is actually shorter than fish A, but they both are labeled as 3 inches because we are rounding. We are looking for the closest inch. Notice fish C was 4 inches. It's slightly under 4, but remember we're rounding. In D, 3 inches. And in E, he's a little bit over 4 inches, but we rounded to 4. Now I took that information and I made a line plot. Now remember, I told you there's a couple ways to make line plots. In my first one, I did start at 0 and I made numbers all the way to 6. But then I thought, you know what? I want to show you guys a different way. I made a line plot with just 3 and 4. Now they do have to be in order because I know that 2 could be over here and I know that 5 could be over here, but I don't really need them for this problem because all of my fish are 3 inches and 4 inches. Now comes the part I have to make sure I do very accurately. I have to be precise. I found A fish is at 3 inches, so I made 3. So he's done. If you need to, cross him off. B fish is 3 inches. There's my second one. C fish is 4 inches, so I put an X. D fish is 3 inches, so I put another one. And my last fish is 4 inches, so I put in my another 4, and I've plotted all of my data. Okay, that is it for session 1. Have a good day. I'll see you for session 2.